Hi, I'm Stella. When I found out I was pregnant, I felt an indescribable happiness. It was the beginning of a new chapter in my life, and I wanted the announcement to be special. I planned everything with care, but nothing could have prepared me for what happened that night. At the family dinner, everything went as planned, until my sister-in-law took my news for herself. With a smug smile, she accepted the congratulations that were meant for me. I stood there, stunned, waiting for someone to notice the mistake. But instead, I was silenced, ridiculed, and treated as if I were trying to steal someone else's moment. The humiliation was overwhelming. I found myself distanced from my family, while empty apology messages tried to justify the unjustifiable. Her baby's gender reveal became yet another spectacle of drama and manipulation. And when the truth about my baby was exposed, without my consent, her game reached a new level. Invading my privacy was just another step in her relentless quest for attention. But the worst was yet to come. When my daughter was born, I thought I would finally have a moment of happiness just for myself. But my sister-in-law found a new way to undermine my joy. It was at that moment that I understood something crucial. I had to set a boundary. I would never have peace as long as I allowed these people to continue this cycle of disrespect. So that was it. What did I do next? Well, let's just say it was the most liberating moment of my life. And after that, there was no turning back.
Hey guys, welcome to our channel.
Hi, I'm Stella. Ever since I found out I was pregnant, happiness wrapped around me in a way I had never felt before. I had always wanted to be a mother, but being single and focused on my career, I wasn't sure if that moment would ever come. When I saw those 2 lines on the test, my heart raced. It was real. It was my moment. I wanted my announcement to be special, unforgettable. I planned everything carefully, booking a special reservation at a great restaurant. Since my sister had a 5-year-old son, I decided to involve him in the surprise. I bought him a t-shirt that said, "This is what an awesome cousin looks like." Before the family dinner, I sat down with my nephew, explaining that he would soon have a little cousin to play with and that I would tell him when to take off his sweater. His eyes lit up, and he proudly wore the t-shirt, hiding it under a sweater until the perfect moment. During dinner, with everyone gathered and distracted by casual conversations, I signaled to my nephew to take off his sweater. My heart pounded in my chest as I waited for someone to notice. And then it happened. My sister saw the t-shirt and, with a scream of joy, announced it to everyone. But what happened next completely caught me off guard. Everyone immediately turned to look at my sister-in-law. They assumed she was the pregnant one. I was shocked but tried to stay calm, waiting for her to correct the mistake. But she didn't. On the contrary, she laughed, placed a hand on her completely flat stomach, and accepted the congratulations as if they were meant for her. My eyes widened. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My mother shot me a harsh look and said I was being rude for not congratulating them. My stomach twisted. I tried to intervene, to say that the t-shirt was my gift, that I was the one who was pregnant, but no one listened. My parents, my brother, everyone was too busy fawning over my sister-in-law, complimenting her on how beautiful she would look with a baby bump. I felt invisible, suffocated by the injustice of that moment. My brother, pale and confused, turned to his wife and asked if it was true. She simply smiled enigmatically. My heart broke right then. Anger bubbled inside me, but it was overshadowed by an overwhelming sadness. Without saying a word, I got up and left. My hands trembled as I drove home, and as soon as I arrived, I broke down in tears. My phone buzzed nonstop. Messages calling me selfish, saying I was jealous, that my sister-in-law wasn't to blame. I didn't reply. I just cried myself to sleep. The next morning, the truth came out. My sister-in-law admitted she wasn't pregnant and that she had lied. Suddenly, the tide turned. Apology messages flooded my phone. Everyone said they had just been excited and that I should have been clearer. They tried to justify their behavior by saying they got carried away in the moment, but I felt betrayed and ignored. My mother suggested a redo of the dinner so they could have the right reaction this time. That's when my sister-in-law sent me a message that made my blood run cold. She said she had always wanted to announce a pregnancy that way, and since she would never have kids, she just wanted to experience the moment. As if it were a game. As if she had the right to steal my moment. Ironically, she even said I could have my chance now. I refused. I didn't want a 4-second announcement just to ease their guilt. That moment was mine, and they destroyed it. Even if I eventually forgive them all, this pain won't be erased by a simple redo. The truth is, some damage is irreparable, and this emotional scar will stay with me forever. They called me selfish. So be it. This time, I would choose myself. If my motherhood journey started like this, I could only imagine the twists and turns that were yet to come. Underscore 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 underscore. The past few months have been a whirlwind. After the disaster of my pregnancy announcement, I tried my best to keep my distance from my family and focus only on my pregnancy. But fate, as always, had other plans. A few days after the dinner, my brother showed up at my door with a suitcase in hand. His eyes were tired, and the weight of something unspoken hung over him. Without needing an explanation, I opened the door and let him in. He needed time to figure things out. I still hurt, didn't want to get involved, but I couldn't ignore the pain on his face. During this time, my sister-in-law and other family members bombarded us with calls and messages. They begged him to come back, to talk to her. Eventually, she managed to convince him that it was all just a prank gone wrong. A pathetic excuse, I knew, but he seemed lost without her, like he was drifting without direction. After a few weeks, he decided to go back home. After he left, I returned to having minimal contact with my family, and to my surprise, my happiness grew. Their absence meant the absence of drama. I surrounded myself with people who truly cared about me and my baby. My parents kept trying to reach out, but over time, their attempts became less frequent. I was finally starting to feel at peace. Then yesterday, I received news that completely caught me off guard. My sister-in-law was actually pregnant. The revelation came in an almost comical way. An invitation to her gender reveal party popped up in my email inbox. No personal message, no additional apology, just an invitation. I stared at the screen. I spent days debating whether I should attend. I was doing well keeping my distance, but part of me felt like I'd be selfish if I didn't try to support my brother. Or maybe deep down it was just curiosity. Or loneliness. The truth is, being pregnant alone, isolated from the world, isn't easy. So I decided to join. The gender reveal party was on Zoom. We were instructed to wear blue or pink, depending on what we thought the baby's gender would be. I chose pink since the only dress that fits me right now is that color. As the guests joined the call, everything seemed to be going smoothly. My parents were dressed in blue from head to toe. My sister-in-law and my brother, on the other hand, were dressed entirely in pink. My sister-in-law had chosen to pop a giant balloon to reveal the gender. The balloon had been prepared by one of her cousins, the only person who knew the baby's sex. When she popped it, a cloud of blue confetti exploded, revealing it was a boy. My parents started crying and clapping, while my brother and everyone else smiled and cheered. My sister-in-law, on the other hand, seemed frozen. The next moments were filled with guests offering their congratulations, but she remained perfectly silent the entire time. She looked almost emotionless until I spoke to congratulate her. Congratulations on your little boy. My baby can't wait to meet his cousin, I said with a smile. The world seemed to stop. The temperature in the room dropped a few degrees. My sister-in-law's eyes narrowed, and in a second, she exploded. Are you trying to steal my moment? Her voice cut through the screen, freezing me in place. This is pure jealousy. You still haven't gotten over your disaster of an announcement, have you? Her eyes filled with a rage I didn't recognize. I didn't understand what was happening. I blinked, speechless, as she kept going, now pointing a finger at me. By the way, what are you hiding? What are you waiting for? It's a girl, isn't it? It has to be, since you're wearing pink. My parents and other family members watched in silence, as if this was some live show and no one knew if they should intervene. It wasn't worth arguing. I left the call, my heart pounding and a bitter taste in my mouth. But the drama was far from over. Then, she demanded to know my baby's gender, and kept asking if it was a girl, just because I was wearing pink. My parents and other relatives did little to stop her meltdown. I didn't choose to fight or argue. I simply left the call and let it go. I can't understand what's wrong with my sister-in-law, or why she behaves this way. I don't care, and I won't let things like this bother me. But things got worse. Days later, I received the worst news of all. A shock ran down my spine when I found out she had hacked into my Amazon account. The truth was clear. She had used the information I gave my brother to hack into my Prime account. She went through my orders, my private lists, then found the truth. She knew. She knew I was expecting a baby girl. I was devastated. But she didn't stop at just finding out. She made sure to tell everyone before I could, even sharing screenshots of my orders, baby dresses, tiaras, ribbon bows, etc., and lists. My messages exploded with congratulations I had never asked for. What should have been my moment was stolen. Again, when I confronted her, I expected at least a shred of remorse. But all I got was a smug laugh and a pathetic excuse. You are keeping secrets, she said, as if invading my privacy was justifiable. To her, it was a funny story, but to me, it was a deep betrayal. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore and snapped. I called her and told her what she did was terrible and deeply disturbing. I told her she had ruined every important moment of my pregnancy and that I couldn't believe she was proud of it. I said she should be ashamed. I made it clear that I would not allow my daughter to call her aunt because she didn't deserve it. After my outburst, she had a meltdown and accused me of trying to make her feel excluded. My brother and other family members tried to defend her, but I made it clear that I would remove them from my life if they continued. Since then, they've shut their mouths. A few days later, my sister-in-law then gave me a half-hearted apology and said we needed to reconcile for the sake of the kids. I want to be part of my new nephew's life, she said. I agreed to leave it behind and move on, but I made it clear to her and everyone else that they were walking on very thin ice. One more stunt, and I would cut her off, along with my brother and anyone who sided with her. Now that everyone knew I was expecting a girl, I refused to tell anyone the name I had chosen for my daughter. I wanted to keep at least that part to myself. I hadn't even written it down anywhere, fearing someone might find out. My sister-in-law had already asked me multiple times about the name, but I always said I hadn't decided yet. Last week, she started sending me baby girl name suggestions as if she had a say in the matter. I reminded her that she was expecting a boy, but she seemed to be in denial about that fact. Most of the names she suggested didn't interest me. We had very different tastes. She sent me about 4 or 5 names from her list every day. I simply ignored her. Yesterday, I finally received the message that would change everything. She sent me the exact name I had chosen for my daughter. This name carried the weight of my story. It was the name of my late great-grandmother, a woman whose memory I had wanted to honor since I was a teenager. I had decided long ago that I wouldn't change my mind. The name was etched in my heart and would be announced as soon as my daughter was born. My baby girl finally arrived, bringing an indescribable joy to my world. She was so beautiful, more incredible than I could have ever imagined. Every second with her was magical. I refused to be intimidated by my sister-in-law over the name choice. I named my daughter after my great-grandmother, a name that suited her perfectly. I sent a message to the family directly from the hospital, announcing my daughter's birth and her name. As expected, my sister-in-law didn't like my choice. She was even more furious when she heard the nickname I had given my little one, a shortened version of her full name. On my list of favorite names, that nickname was special. Why can't this woman mind her own business? She went on social media to share the birth announcement and, in a provocative move, used a different name to refer to my baby. She claimed it was her special nickname for my daughter, something as bizarre as calling my Grace Gilly. Enraged, I demanded she stop immediately and call my daughter by the name I had chosen. I knew she just wanted to get under my skin, but I wasn't going to let it shake me. Despite my protests, the social media post remained. A week after I got home from the hospital, my family came over to meet the baby. That's when my sister-in-law restarted her games, buying a teddy bear with the name Gilly embroidered on it. My relatives laughed and told me to stop being so controlling, thinking the nickname was cute. They even started using it as if I had no right to name my own baby. Frustration and sadness mixed inside me. I realized that none of them would ever change the way they treated me. They didn't understand how much this hurt me, and I had allowed them to belittle me. I realized I was being weak, giving in to her games. It was time to set boundaries. In the past, I had endured so much pain in the name of family, overcoming issues and old wounds. Now, it was happening again, but this time, it was in front of my daughter. I understood that the only family that truly mattered was the one that respected me. And if they couldn't respect her mother, then maybe they didn't deserve to be part of her life either. Grace was more than a name. It was a legacy, a promise of strength. And I would do everything to make sure she grew up knowing that. Without hesitation, I grabbed the teddy bear my sister-in-law had given and threw it straight into the trash, right in front of them. The dull thud of impact echoed in the room, a small gesture, but one loaded with meaning. I looked each of them in the eyes, daring them to react. "Get out of my house." My voice came out firm, almost icy. I didn't yell, didn't explode in anger. I simply stood there, solid as a rock. They were as despicable as my sister-in-law, just as toxic as her. There was no longer room for them in my life. I took my daughter from my mother's arms. Feeling the warmth of her tiny body against mine was a reminder of why I was doing this. She needed protection. She needed a safe environment, far from these people who had never shown an ounce of respect for me. I showed them the door, every inch of me radiating determination. The insults came like a storm. Acidic words, full of resentment, echoed through the house. But I was already beyond them. They were just background noise. I was ending this once and for all. Since then, not a single one of them has even tried to contact me. Thank God. But there was still something inside me that needed to be purged. I felt the need to express everything bottled up inside me. I thought about writing a letter or a journal, putting on paper every wound, every disappointment, every betrayal. Maybe that way, I'd find some closure. But deep down, I knew the only real way to move on was by cutting this bond completely. That's when I spoke to my boss and discovered an unexpected opportunity, a transfer to a branch on the East Coast. A new beginning, a new life, a new home where I could rebuild everything from scratch. The idea ignited something inside me, a spark of hope I hadn't felt in a long time. During my maternity leave, I would organize everything. My plans weren't fully finalized yet, but one thing was absolutely certain. I was leaving. And for the first time in a long while, I was happy. Truly happy. My daughter, my little light, was everything to me. Every one of her giggles was a reminder of what really mattered. She was the sweetest, most perfect, most loved baby I could ever imagine. And I was her mother. And soon, we would start over.